What's up, guys? Welcome back to Founders Club. I'm Alex Lagos, and today we have Hannah Kaul, founder of Women in Biz. She's sharing how a local Nashville community expanded across the country before she intentionally brought it back to its roots. Hannah discusses the overwhelming demand among women for in-person connection and the importance of having a safe space to navigate the isolating journey of entrepreneurship. From navigating male-dominated corporate boardrooms to unpacking the hidden costs of rapidly scaling a business, she opens up about stepping back to find balance. Hannah and the hosts explore why women must reject unrealistic societal standards, the vulnerability required to make the bold ask, and why success doesn't have to equal suffering. Let's get into it.
Hannah, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Tell us who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Hannah Kaul. I am the founder of Women in Biz, which is actually an organization that launched originally here in Nashville. After that, we expanded into a couple other cities like New York and Austin and Chicago. But we've come back to Nashville and really rooting down here. And our goal is to inspire, connect, and collaborate with women of Nashville.
Oh, amazing. Okay, so you're here in Nashville. What does Women in Biz look like if I were to be a part of that community?
Yeah, good question. So historically, most people probably know us for doing monthly events, primarily at Soho House. That was really how we expanded to other markets as well. But now we're kind of like reshaping what we're doing because we surveyed over 1,000 women over the course of the 2.5-3 years that we've been around. Number one thing that women wanted was more in-person connection. It wasn't that they needed another group or another course, but what they wanted was opportunity to really chat and talk with one another. So in order to respond to that in a way that was sustainable, we're doing quarterly in-person events, and those are larger scale. Like we just did one earlier this month at Ampersand Studios. And that's like a panel discussion, networking, like, 200 plus women there, like awesome opportunity to meet lots of new faces. But then on a bi-weekly basis for our members only, we're able to connect in person or digitally through our biz circles, which are, it's not a mastermind, it's not a course, it's really just an opportunity to form your community. And kind of meet that need that we were hearing about for women all across the country.
Totally, more than ever, right? It seems like people want in-person connection. They're over the digital thing.
Yeah, totally. And even like in feedback that I got from different members we were coordinating, like whether they're going to be an in-person group or a digital group, many were like hesitant to do digital. Some did it more for efficiency is what I found, and I totally get that. Where others were like, I just feel like it's not as personal. I'm like, I get it. Who wants to be on Zoom all day?
Totally. We do enough of that, right?
Yes, 100%.
So, I mean, where did this idea come from? And tell us about sort of the inception of it to where it is now.
Yeah, good question. So you and I were connecting a little bit about this. So we came from bigger cities, you as well, and then came to Nashville. And so I moved to Nashville almost 4 years ago now. And I had moved from Chicago, where everyone is a woman in biz out of necessity. Like there's just a grind, you're replaceable. Like most people just work for large organizations there. And it really is just survival. And I don't think I realized that because I was there for a decade. Yeah. And then I came here and I was like, where are like all the ladies building things? Like there were amazing creatives and like I felt really inspired in other ways, but I didn't feel like I saw a ton of women that reflected me. Yeah. At the time I was working in sales and so was going to all these networking events. And they were just like super old school, really kind people, but not necessarily individuals that I would be like, let's like hang, let's go get a coffee. Like, let's go get a drink. Like I didn't find that they were super fruitful for like what I needed professionally or what I needed personally as a transplant here. And so I kind of just entered the gap. I remember I approached Soho and was like, we have to do this Women in Biz programming. And they're like, okay, cool. I was like, you're doing so much for creatives, not enough for entrepreneurs. Yes. And then they were like, well, how many people do you think will come? And I was like, 50. And I truly was like, I have absolutely no clue how many women will come. And to our first event, we had over 200 women.
Wow.
Literally these like women in Prada scattered across the floor, like just like eager to connect. Like there was no room for seating because the room was just totally overflowing. And then I realized like, oh, okay, there's like a bigger need here than I even recognized. And I've just been on that journey of recognizing like, whoa, like there is a very large need for women to connect that I don't fully get, to be transparent. Like, I'm doing it, but I'm like, whoa, every time I'm always surprised just at how, like, the sheer volume of people that are hungry for this.
Yes. Well, I mean, I know you just said you don't really get it, but I'm also going to ask you, at least if you have any theories around, like, why do you think it is that women are so hungry for a space like that?
It's a great question. I think one part of me holds a lot of curiosity in that with you of like, I don't fully know. I know I needed it. And so I kind of took that need and responded to it and have been rolling with it ever since. And the need continues to be there. But a lot of feedback that I hear from like founders and professional side hustlers really make up the majority of our membership. It's pretty isolating. I think there's just new challenges, especially in entrepreneurship, that come every moment of every day. It's very confronting, not just professionally, but it's very confronting, like, for you as a person. And I think people just want a sounding board. Like, they want somewhere safe, not necessarily to have all the answers, but to swap notes and be like, yo, I just had this crazy client thing happen. Like, what do I do? Or to like encourage. I mean, I myself have experienced the encouragement of the community. So many of my best friends have come from women in biz. And I'm an entrepreneur too. And it's like, I have rough days also, and have needed those women to be like, no, keep going. Like, no, okay, it doesn't matter if only 2 people show up to an event, just go. And I wouldn't have kept going if it wasn't for that. And I think other people need that too.
Totally. And I think, like, I want to be mindful of not being too gendered or stereotyping, but I think there's something women can offer in those spaces that a lot of men can't, you know? And even if it has nothing to do with the men, we as women are like projection of perhaps what the men think, or, you know, our own internalized sexism and misogyny, like mixed with theirs, makes it so that they're not always the safest spaces when, you know, all genders are in a space. Not to say that can't be like incredible and deeply generative and challenging and powerful, but there's something about women sort of understanding that we maybe operate in a more like, I mean, I don't know, Molly, you and I were talking about this yesterday. Like, we're just a bit less overall, like, kind of like intense, masculine, dominant. Like, there's a bit more of a flow. And like, where do we bring in the empathy and the compassion, the self-compassion and the self-care, and make sure that we don't get lost in all of it? And hey, maybe it's not just always about revenue, no matter what. Like, maybe there's also something about, I don't know, meaning and purpose and all of these sorts of things that I think, and I'm not sure if I'm making a lot of sense here, but I think like, for men, they have so much more, they're socialized to have so much more ego attached to revenue and success and like outcomes.
Women want connection, you know? I think that's it.
Exactly. Like, women want connection. Women want to connect to others and to ourselves in the process. And I think it sounds like that space really allows for that.
Yeah, 1,000%. It's actually funny. I resonate a lot with what you're sharing, because my fiance and then one of the other like men in biz, like one of the other significant others of the women that's on my team, they were at the last event, and they were just like swapping notes to each other. And it was so funny because they were like, dudes would like never do this. Like, right? They were like, totally. It's so interesting. Yeah. You know, I think they were really surprised too by like, oh, like women's needs are inherently different or present differently than men's. And to your point, like, one, I think how women are made, we just are far more integrated, and we wear a lot of different roles. I think, like, especially in both of you are entrepreneurs, so you get it. It's like, one, we have to have like masculine drive in order to like make something happen. But then it's like, how do you steward that like masculinity with like a soft femininity when you're about to become a mom, or femininity when you're about to become a wife, like making a home, nurturing, like there's like these two like juxtaposed things that are so beautiful. But I think it's just like this, like for me personally, this unending pursuit of like, oh, how do these coexist in a healthy way? Like, I don't want to like negate the drive and ambition and, you know, who doesn't want to make profit? Like, I think there's a lot of fun in solving problems and figuring out how to like make a business. At the same time, like, I myself want to be connected to myself. I don't want it to, in many seasons, it has come at the expense of my own well-being and the well-being of my relationships and those around me. And so it's just like this, I don't know, I think especially in this season, I find myself being like, well, how do both exist? Because I don't want to like leave either at the door.
Yes, totally. And I think like in the way that we're all raised and socialized, like, I mean, and there are definitely stats on this, and I don't know the exact numbers, but like, what is it? The prove it again bias, one where women, you know, it's like, they'll go out to an investor and say like, hey, like I have this idea and I'm raising money. And the investor will be like, well, like, show me how you've succeeded so far, and like show me like the ways that this has worked, and I need to know that like you've proven yourself already. Whereas men are like, hey, I have this idea, and they're like, cool, like let me go give you all your money. And that's why like only at least a couple of years ago it was 2.2% of VC funding goes to women. And so that's, you know, there's more to that. Obviously women, again, we're not socialized to be as entrepreneurial as men or to believe in ourselves as much, but we do tend to sort of like have more imposter syndrome, lack more confidence. For men, they will be way more likely to apply for a role or a job where they have like 2 of the 5, you know, qualifications or bullet points. Women, if they have 5 out of 5, they're like maybe willing to apply for it, right? So we just have a general sense of underconfidence. And again, I'm very much generalizing here, but this is just what the stats show. And so when we find ourselves in spaces where there are mixed genders, oftentimes we're more likely to defer. Just again, unconsciously, I don't know this. That man must know this. You know, I always think of a time where, this was years ago, I was at a party and there were just like a few of us there, and to begin with, and there were all the kind of making us to make old fashions. And like, I don't know what's in an old fashioned, and nobody else knew it was in an old fashioned, right? And we were all, nobody knew each other in the setting. Like it was like sort of, you know, you're just getting to know each other, and I would never be like, I'm gonna go up there and I'm just gonna like figure it out, right? Because I was like, oh my gosh, I feel so self-conscious. What if I screw up? I don't want to fail. And of course, like the one man in the group like goes forward and he's like, I'm going to figure it out. Like, let me go on Google, and like, just like, you know, makes everybody old fashions. And it was such a striking moment for me. And I know it's like a simple example, but it was such a striking moment because I was like, wow, like this is exactly what happens when women believe that like we can't do the thing because we don't know. And even if we can Google the directions, we're like, let me defer to the man to do it. Yeah. So I think in those spaces, it sounds like it makes so much sense to be able to have women together who can empower each other and sort of allow each other to take up space without like deferring to the male authority.
So good. Yeah, no, I love that story and that example. I feel like it's so relevant. And especially like if you think about not to be super cliche, but if you think about a boardroom, my background is
totally
corporate, commercial, retail, real estate. And so it's like a very male dominated industry. And while there were actually quite a few amazing female leaders at the organization I was at, which was rare, especially for that industry, the dominance, to your point, was always extremely male, and it was very intimidating. At the time, I was like in my early 20s, and I did have a lot to learn, but showing that you had a lot to learn was a threat. And if you think about like how I, as a 22-year-old, would show up in the boardroom with C-suite executives and, you know, the board, I would show up probably a bit more like timid, or I would really lean into like more shiny traits. Like I was a great presenter, but then when it came to the numbers, which I am really good at numbers, I'm like obsessed with data, I was not confident that I was, as opposed to like the finance dude who's the same age next to me, like spitting facts, who's like automatically respected in the room simply for being in finance.
Yeah, totally. And also because we're told we're not good at math as women from a very young age, right? Yeah. So we just think, well, I'm not good at that. We'll let the guys do that kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
1000%.
So how do you think communities of women, whether it's the in-person events, the networking, the panels, the digital connection in between sessions, how do you think that empowers women to believe in themselves more and actually take steps and kind of take up space and maybe even be dominant in certain areas where they might not have felt confident doing so previously?
Yeah. You know, it's so interesting. And, I'm not sharing this to like toot my own horn or anything, but I do believe that
your own horn, girl.
Well, I just believe like when you're a leader, people are watching. Like, and so there is a level of responsibility that I have to lead the way. And I will say, like, one of my superpowers is, I always attribute this to, I was like an actor as a kid. I was a theater kid forever, like 6 to 18. And it made me very fearless in terms of like being in front of people. Like I was not afraid to speak. I was not afraid to present. I was not afraid to ask. I was not afraid to go up to anybody. Like you put me in a room and I would talk to the wall. Like, and I'm very thankful for that, because it set this foundation at a really young age that set me up very well for business, transparently. Most people in business are not theater kids and like didn't have that foundation.
Totally.
And so something that I think I've taught the community is just ask. Like, I think that honestly, that's like the biggest piece of transformation. And I don't know if that's a Southern thing. You know, I'm like a Yankee, so I'm coming here and I'm like, I don't know as much about like Southern culture. But I do think that there is, especially when it comes to women, I do think there are different like buckets or just like cultural norms that I probably like really break the mold for here. Maybe you both relate to that as individuals that, you know, are transplants here as well. And one of those is probably just like this boldness of like, I am just like not afraid to make the ask. And typically, and if you wait, someone else is just going to make the ask instead. And that might be like competitive or, you know, whatever it is what it is. Like, I'm just going to go and do it. Yeah. And that is how all of Women in Biz has come to be. Like, I just was the one that did it. Like, there's really no difference between me and the girl next to me. And I think if there's anything that that I'm proud of in the community that I've seen grow over time is more women doing it, like making the asks, taking bold steps. And I feel really proud of that. It's, you know, even in like the things that they ask me, I'm like, even if it's like a no on my end, I'm proud that you asked. Like, totally. Thanks for asking. Like, good on you. Like, this is a good practice. Yes. But then outside of like the example from leaders in any organization, honestly, I think it's like sometimes you are just one connection away from what it is that you need. And so one framework that we use in every single Women in Biz event is, what do you need? Which, that's a question that's really vulnerable and honest. It can be a need personally. It could be a need in your business. Like 9 times out of 10, the answer to your need is going to be found in the room that you're in. But most of the time we just aren't asking.
Yes, totally.
And so we just ask. And that's where the magic happens. There's like so many testimonies of, you know, roommates and best friends and new business deals, new businesses launched, like leaving jobs because they hated that. Like, you know, and I only hear this many of them. I don't hear all of them. And I really think like that is the key. It's like you actually having a space where you're being bold enough, one, to like make the ask, and two, be honest with yourself about your need and share it with the person next to you.
Yes, that's so powerful. And what comes up for me when you say that is, yes, it's making the ask, and underneath that is knowing what you need, like you said, which can be very challenging, right? Especially for women when we're focused on everyone else's needs around us, not our own. So turning inward and being like, what do I really need? And then on top of that, recognizing that we deserve it, right? And we as women are, again, raised in a culture where we're told we're not thin enough, we're not pretty enough, we're not young enough, we're not sexy enough, we're not independent enough, but we're not submissive enough at the same time, and we're not, you know, it can go on and on and on and on and on. And so we are constantly battling this self-worth piece. It's like, I am not worthy, and therefore I'm not worthy of whatever I'm asking for. And so how do you think that women can, even if they're aware, okay, this is what I need to ask for, how can they bridge that gap between like, I'm not worthy of this, or I don't deserve this, and I do deserve this, and I can take a step into this discomfort of asking.
Yeah, that's you bringing that up. Actually, this might feel like a tangent, but I promise it has a point. I was watching Love Is Blind yesterday, and spoiler alert, if like you haven't watched the new episode that came out, I don't know if y'all are like Love Is Blind people, but it's just good.
I've watched it a bit.
I haven't seen it, but I know everyone's obsessed with
it. A little trashy tea. Like if you need like a little maternity leave.
I would just finish Tell Me Lies. Like,
okay, perfect. Yeah, so like that'll be like put it on your agenda next. But I was like actually infuriated because this is the premise of the show was you're meeting people blindly. Yeah. You decide to propose to them before you actually see them face to face. Yes. And so there's the phase of the show where you go and like move in together with your fiance for a period of time before you go and get married. And many times in this show, there have been men that just communicate some level of like not being attracted to the individual that they're with. Yeah. And yesterday, I was watching this episode with my fiance, and I actually was so, one, it probably like triggered me for some reason, and two, it made me so upset. So there was this man who was with this like really just like objectively beautiful woman. She has this beautiful home. She's a doctor. She's like an internal medicine physician.
Oh my gosh.
Like literally and objectively just like a beautiful woman, like well-rounded. And like she's like, you know, I have a life that I love, and I only want to be with someone who's going to add to that. And he communicated to her, well, you don't do Pilates every day. And I'm normally like attracted to like the woman that normally does Pilates every day, or normally I'm attracted to the woman that does like CrossFit all the time. And I was like, these standards are absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it 1000% impacts, like, not just, how you date, but it impacts how you show up in every other facet of your life. Because it's like, oh, is this what men are measuring me against? And I'm engaged. I'm like happily engaged. I feel I'm great. Like I'm doing fine there. But it sparked a really interesting conversation with me and my fiance because it brought up all of these insecurities in myself. I was like, do you think I'm pretty enough? Do you think I'm skinny enough? Do you think I'm this? Do you think I'm this? Da, 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 da. And I would consider myself like a relatively confident person. Like I've done a lot of work. I'm gonna be 32. Like I've done a lot of this stuff to like kind of move through those things. Yeah. But it's this ongoing narrative of like perfect, like the girl that does Pilates every day. Good on you if that's you. Whatever. It's this ideal standard of what women are expected to be for men.
Yes.
Not for us, but for men. And that is like, I don't have a solution for that, but it begged me to think, like, I'm like, okay, I want to post about this because I can only imagine how many amazing female entrepreneurs that are in my community that perhaps reflect, maybe you're single, reflect what this internal medicine badass woman is all about, who some man told her that
she doesn't do Pilates.
That she doesn't do Pilates every day. I'm like, sir, what? Like this is what, this is going to be your deal breaker. Yeah. And I have so many other thoughts on that, and I want to bring it back to like the actual conversation. But your question is actually what I was asking myself of like, okay, what would I say to her? And all I would say to her is like, go girl. Like, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you that you said, I have a life that I love, and I'm only going to let things in that are going to add to it. Yes. Of course, that conversation was hurtful. That translates into business as well. Like, who are you doing business deals with? Who are your clients? Who are you allowing into your life that are they projecting that narrative? Like, you have the power to say, that ain't it for me. Like, that's okay that society is like that. I don't have a solution for that. But you get to choose who's going to be around you and who's going to encourage you. And really the only thing that came to mind, I don't have a solution for these societal norms. The only thing that came to mind was like, let me rally behind you and be like, no, you're amazing. Totally. Like, no, you're incredible. And like, I hope you believe that. And she did believe that. Yeah. And I was like, that's a win. Like, she knew who she was despite what this dude was sharing with her on national television.
Yes. Well, and thank you for sharing that awesome story. I think just even like knowing that, right? Like, even as women, I think as we become aware of the standards that are completely unrealistic and have been placed upon us, I mean, long before we were born, right? Like, even it's like fairy tales and Disney movies, and it's all about happily ever after, and you have to look this way and never age, and like, and then now, I mean, social media is like a beast, right? Like, I mean, I think probably many people listening know that it's like, what was it, 2012 or 2013, wherever it was that Instagram came out, there was like this like marked, like huge exponential shift or increase, in suicides by women, right? Mental depression and suicide and substance use and all these sorts of things, because women are like, I can't measure up to this like filtered standard, and that's what's expected of me. And so even just realizing like, this is not real, this is not realistic, and like, you're not the problem, the system is the problem, and being able to be like, I don't care that I'm getting these implicit or explicit messages that I need to be both like a total boss, but also like submissive and feminine. And like, I need to like focus on getting married, but also like I need to be independent and, because so much of it is this double bind that's literally impossible.
It's impossible.
But being able to recognize like, that's not real. That is a narrative that's out there. And like, we as women can quietly or loudly like push against it and just do what actually serves us, right? Which sounds like it's been your journey.
Oh, 1000%. I mean, I'm still in it. Like, I'm sure many of us are like recovering people pleasers.
Totally.
And, like, myself 1000%. And it's like, okay, my own work is listening, because the only way to fight against that, or like things that are like greater than you, is for you to make your own rules. And it's like, that takes a lot of like inside.
Totally.
That's an inside job.
Yes.
Your inside job impacts your outside work.
Yeah.
And, I've found that in my business time and time again. I'd actually be curious what that looks like for y'all. But with women in biz, I think even like the nature of building a community-based business is that there's like, and the most challenging piece for me is the constant feedback loop. Whether you, even if it's not asked for, it never is asked for. There's constantly feedback, good, bad, ugly. And how I can internalize that is, here's a problem that needs to go be fixed. And so then I'm just playing whack-a-mole all the time, which part of that is, that is part of business. Like, you're going to be a problem solver all the time. Yeah. But that's an expression of me not having clear, like, understanding internally of where I'm taking this thing.
Yeah.
And if I don't have that, then I'm just going to go play to whack-a-mole and trying to serve a million different masters while I'm suffering, the business is probably suffering, the community's probably suffering because I'm distracted by one comment on Instagram.
And trying to make everybody happy in your community, which is impossible.
It is impossible. Yeah. Like, you're there to serve, but like, you're not there to meet every single need of every single person. And so that, just like the work for me is to say, okay, where am I going with this? Do I feel like it's aligned with my integrity and vision? Is it meeting a need? Yeah. If the answer is yes, like, blinders on, stay the course.
Yes.
Keep going.
Amazing. I'm hearing a few things here. So just to recap, it was like, okay, ask. Even if it's uncomfortable, ask. No, somebody else is going to do it if you don't. Like, be bold, that kind of thing. Know what you need and ask. Next one, perhaps like reject these kind of societal norms, like stay on your own path. Have your community of women who are going to empower you and celebrate you and be like, yes, girl, like, you did it. Fuck yes. You got some rejections. Me too, right? And then moving to the next one, which you just shared, which I've just completely forgotten. But can you say it again? It was my prego brain.
It's like no, you're good. It's like that internal compass of like, okay, compass. Blinders on. Like, determine what success is for you.
Yes.
And stay the course.
Yeah, stay the course. Determine what success is for you. Stay the course, right? Don't try to people please everybody, right? Because you can't make everybody happy.
No, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, disappointing people. Especially if you're used to pleasing people, it's going to feel very, very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And you're going to internalize it as like, oh shit, like, I failed.
Well, and again, coming back to being a woman, like, we're meant to be relational. We're meant to please. We're meant to serve. Like, our whole life is about being a mother and being a wife. And that's what we're taught to be. And so believing we're not pleasing someone or that we've let someone down or that we've hurt someone or disappointed someone is like excruciating for many's identity. So being able to just be okay with that, like, it's okay. That's not you don't have to own that person's feelings, right? Like, that person can be disappointed. Disappointment is actually like a really transformative emotion for a lot of people, and more of us probably need it. Anything else that you would say, just if we were going to kind of just to give people these sort of tools, right, or these reminders of like, okay, just ask, like, be bold, like, have your community, tune into your internal compass, know what you need. Anything else that you would add to that, or do you feel like that's a comprehensive list?
Yeah, I guess if like we want to, I always like things that are like feel like really, really practical. So like, one, not to be not a shameless plug, but I do have a resource on womeninbiz.com where it's called Dream Lab, and it identifies your North Star. And my favorite part about it is that it identifies like, okay, here's my North Star for the year or quarter. You could do it for the week. It doesn't matter. It takes into account all these other things that it's going to cost you in order to have the North Star. And so that tool is honestly like incredibly, incredibly powerful to give you that clarity and anchor you, just to have it in writing. Yes. And to identify like, okay, if I want to accomplish X, this is going to cost me my workouts every day, my relationship, my XYZ. It's going to cost me a lot of money. The reward might be huge. Is it worth it?
Right.
And it's just to like have that clarity. That has been a game changer for me personally in identifying like, okay, I don't have to take well-intended input from every single person that I know, and know, actually, this is my North Star. Like, that's like a really practical tool that has been helpful. Awesome. And whether it's that or not, just spend 10 minutes and write down like, hey, what would success look like for me? Like, irregardless of those around me, what would it look like for me? Write it down. And commit to it. Maybe just for a day. Try it on. And commit to it, because what that means is that you're going to have to say no to something.
Yeah, totally.
Whether it's like pleasing somebody or, and that's not going to feel good. But what's going to feel great is being like, but I'm committed to what's ultimately going to be for my best.
Yes.
Amazing. Yeah, like those are just some like practicals. But I actually would love to hear from you guys. Like, what are you doing? Like, how do you identify your North Star? What in terms of what we just chatted about, like I'd love to hear from you and learn from you as well.
Yeah.
I think kind of going back to like what we said, I struggle a lot with, I think, like knowing what thing to focus on, or feeling okay with like knowing that maybe I can't completely focus on my social life or other things, or working out all the time like while growing my business, because there's just not enough hours in the day. Like it's impossible. But I think knowing and having, you know, okay, this is like what I want to achieve, knowing that makes it easier to give that up. So I think, you know, what you said, like imagining, you know, what does that, you know, end goal look like? And maybe it's not an end goal in 5 or 10 years, but even like, you know, at the end of 6 months, like where do I want my business to be? Okay, I'm going to have to sacrifice things, but like knowing that it's going to get me there quicker makes it okay. And, you know, just knowing that you can't be 100% at everything, you know, always, but maybe if you can get there, you know, at the end of the 6 months, then you can devote a little bit more of another part of your life, you know, to your energy. And I think it's just, you know, having to be okay with sacrifice too, and like realizing that, and you don't have to live that way forever, but it's, you know, going to help you get to your goal now.
Is your, how long have you been in business?
So I started out freelancing.
Okay.
And then kind of created an official, you know, agency around like a year and a half ago.
Cool.
So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And that like first year and a half is like a real like grind time, which is hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are, but it's hard when you're young and friends, you know, have
yeah.
other things, you know,
100%.
happy hours and staying out late and doing all these things, and you're like, I'm trying to like build something, and it's like it's a great season for it because you're like, okay, I'm gonna like put my head down, but it's also hard because it's like, okay, this is coming at a cost, but I know this isn't forever. In a year and a half from now, like I'm gonna have balance the next way.
Yeah. And a lot of your friends, you know, end up becoming people you do business with, and realizing that's fine, like, you know. And I think realizing that there is a community of people in business that can kind of fulfill both those sides of things. So
yeah, that's good.
Yeah. What about you?
I mean, my journey was very different, and I wouldn't say that anyone should necessarily emulate this. I think I'm probably the like what not to do in some ways, or at least a cautionary tale of like, and it's all worked out, unfortunately, but, you know, I definitely was, and still continue to be in many ways, the version of that woman who was very underconfident, and I don't even want to call it imposter syndrome, because I don't think I even like had an idea of what I could be capable of. Like, I wasn't taught to dream in that way. And I was born and raised in Canada, where we're much less entrepreneurial and less capitalistic, which like has a lot of positives and negatives as well. And, you know, the sort of word entrepreneur was like a dirty word in my family. Like, it was like, that's sort of what you do when you're lazy and like, you know, you don't make money from it, which was sort of, I think, my dad's experience of some of his family members. And so I really didn't even know what that was. Like, I was faculty at a college when I was like 25, working in their student mental health and counseling, and loved it. It was amazing. I always knew I wanted to be a therapist. That was something I wanted from a young age, like, which, you know, coming from like a family of divorce with pretty challenging elements of my upbringing, like that sort of was a foreclosed identity in the sense that I was like, oh, I know this is what I want to do. Like, it was never a question. So I just went straight through and did 7 years of school, like got my master's, and like was very young working in that field. And it wasn't until, you know, I went on my own, and, you know, I want to be mindful of time because this could be a really long story, but, you know, I kind of went on my own sort of spiritual journey where I was recovering from eating disorders and depression and anxiety and perfectionism, that I realized like, oh, I'm like playing really small, and I'm telling people to step out of their comfort zone, and I'm telling them to go toward discomfort, but I'm living like a very comfortable life, and yada, yada, yada. That's why I ultimately ended up in New York, because I started writing, and I had millions and millions of views on blog articles and articles. And ultimately, like, even when I got to New York, I was working for a startup because someone had to sponsor my visa. I couldn't just move there and work. And I still didn't think like, oh, I could do something on my own, especially not in New York. I mean, like, how do you survive there, right? And, you know, over a series of just, I would say, intuitive decisions and saying yes to opportunities, but never like really seeking them out myself, because I couldn't have even possibly imagined that people would like pay me what they pay me to, you know, consult with me on, you know, their businesses and their themselves, or that I would be able to speak in front of large audiences and things like that. So I never like, I think I was very fortunate. I think I had a lot of privilege in the sense that I was like young, white, and blonde, like all of us. I think people gave me opportunities that I think I deserve because of my intelligence, but I think they also gave me because they may have wanted to sleep with me. Like, I think there was an element of that. And I think as women, there is a way we can use our power in that way, but also like maintain our integrity, whatever that looks like for ourselves. I want to make sure that doesn't come off as judgmental, because if someone's like, I'm going to sleep my way to the top, like, fuck yeah, go girl. Like, if that feels good for you, you do it. But you know, I think every opportunity that I've had since, whether it's, you know, again, speaking, the clients that I've worked with, I have a book coming out in October that, you know, getting a book deal, like all of those things have been so surprising to me, and I feel a little self-conscious admitting that, because I want to say like I'm the one who's like, yes, like I deserve everything that's come my way, but there's always this sort of like inner battle of, wow, like, do I deserve this, or have I tricked everyone, right? Like, this is the imposter syndrome coming out. Am I a fraud? What happens when they find me out that I actually don't know anything, and I've just been faking it this whole time? And, you know, I think that's the constant work that we have to do, and that's also embedded in those very unrealistic expectations. Because if my expectation for myself is perfection, then yeah, I am failing, right? But if my expectation is, no, I'm like a normal human who's on this journey and like figuring it out, then like, yeah, I am succeeding, right? And so I guess I went on a bit of a tangent there, but to come back to your question, just around like how I make those decisions, how I set those goals. I've never really set a goal. Like, I'm an ENFP, I have ADHD, like I'm very heart-led and intuitive, and I want to do what is interesting to me. And that has been both a gift, and that I can like hyper-focus on certain things and like really like dive in and be excellent in this one area of my craft, and specialize. But then I have not been the person who's been able to be like, in 5 years, I'm going to be there, and I'm going to like do the work to get to this place. And like, I would never have been able to write this book if it wasn't for AI as a thought partner, you know? And so I think, as I said, I don't know if I would say to everyone, do what I did, but I also would offer for those who are listening who maybe do relate, in the sense that they're like, oh, like I set the goal and I have a really hard time executing, or, you know, I just really want to do the thing that like feels really good to me. Is there a way you can monetize that? Is there a way that you can outsource for the things that feel hard, right? Like, honestly, offshore hires are the fucking best. Like, I mean, there are so many incredible people who work so hard and have so much integrity, who you can pay a third of what you would pay for somebody here in the States, right? And so I think really knowing sort of where you shine and where you have limitations, and being able to outsource if possible to those others. And then if you do have trouble kind of getting from point A to point B, and you know you want to get there, and you know someone else can't help you, then really like using those SMART goals, right? Making them specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, time-oriented, like breaking it down. And again, this is where I think AI is so helpful. You can have a conversation with like Claude or ChatGPT and be like, I'm overwhelmed with what I need to do right now. Like, can you help me break it down and like tell me what I should get done just for like today or in the next 30 minutes? And it will work with you. And it's like a coach. So, I there's so many other questions I have for you, Hannah, before we close here. But I'm curious, like, I think for a lot of people, especially those building communities, right? Which is arguably what we need right now. I just mentioned AI. I think there are so many amazing things about it. It is also isolating us like crazy, even more so than social media. Like, between social media and AI, like, we're getting pretty fucking dystopian here. And so people are hungry for community, and they're hungry for connection. And I think there are a lot of people who are trying to build communities, but the tension is between the intimacy and like the depth of the community and scaling. And maybe this is a place where you're like, you know what? Like, I don't need to fucking scale in every way, right? Like, that's not as important. But I'm curious for you, like, do you feel a pressure to scale? And I know you mentioned like it started in Nashville and now you're in Austin and New York. Do you feel any pressure to kind of scale and keep growing? Or are you happy being like, this is my community here and this is good enough?
Yeah, that's such a great question. Well, first, I love what you shared. I'm encouraged to hear that like you had a little bit of a different narrative of like not setting a goal, and that doesn't mean you're directionless. And I think that that's a really important message to share, because it does lead a little bit more with intuition as opposed to like a strict like guideline.
Well, and the last thing I'll say there too is that when people have asked me for like, where do you want to be in 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea who I'll be in 5 years. So I don't know what my wants are going to be. Like, I think our work, so much of our work through self-inquiry, through therapy, through, you know, any of these sorts of things we do is reconnecting to our needs that we've been so disconnected from. And so if we're not really in touch with our needs, we'll just say what we think we're supposed to say, right? I want to be married by this age. I want to have kids by this age. I want to, you know, make this much money by this age. Like, and we're not actually thinking like, what do I actually need and want? Like, what's actually going to make me happy? What do I actually want to feel? And for me, it's been a lot like, I want my lifestyle to be one where I don't feel stressed the moment I wake up, where I have time to get on a call with a friend, where I'm able to go to a yoga class in the middle of the day, where I get enough sleep, where I can set a rule where I'm like, okay, no meetings before 9 a.m. or 10 a.m. or something along those lines. Like, that's more important to me than like what the outcome looks like. And so I'm very process oriented. And I think being able to always reevaluate and be like, you know, I thought I would like love having a thriving therapy practice, but you know what? I realized after about 15 clients a week, like that's my max. That's after that, I start to kind of resent the work. So let me dial that back. Maybe I only want to see clients 2 to 3 days a week, and I want to spend time doing content the rest of the time, or being able to scale in some way, or exploring just like new tasks and challenges, even if they don't work out. And like that's just me. But I think for a lot of people, if we aren't connected to like what we actually need, we just look outside ourselves and are like, oh well, they did it that way, so that must make me happy. And we have to be honest with ourselves about what actually makes us happy.
Yeah, no, that's like that resonates so deeply with me, and really correlates with scale.
Yeah,
because scale comes at a cost.
Totally.
And I think that's what I'm currently navigating, actually, because the cost of scaling, we did scale, and it was like extremely successful. I think it was more successful than I could have imagined. The cost of it was that I was traveling every other week for an entire year. I don't like traveling. Like, I like to be home. I like to be in a routine. I like to work out. I like to go slow. I don't love being on calls all the time. And at the time, I was a full-time business coach while running Women in Biz. So I was essentially growing 2 businesses at once, not really knowing that I was. And so the cost of that was really high. Like, I had to take a year off, and like I went back to corporate. I took a 9-to-5 job. That comes at a different kind of soul cost. Like, you know, it doesn't, you know, you don't have the flexibility. There's benefits to it, but you know, I think everything comes at some level of a cost. And I think what I'm learning is I was always very like financially driven, more from like a fear perspective, less of, I don't know if I necessarily correlated it to success, but I correlated it with security. And putting financial pressure on like an infant of a business is like extremely stressful, because it's like you have like no room to try and fail or scale or slow down or take a vacation or breathe. And, you know, thank God I met my fiance, honestly, because he really helped to like slow me down in like the healthiest way. I'm an Enneagram 3, which I don't know if y'all are familiar with Enneagram, but like I can just like go. And I'm really thankful for the past year that we had to just like slow down and like be present and be together and like make space for love and other things that I care about in my life. So right now, you know, in terms of scale, what I'm trying to do actually is learn to offload. Like I logistics, details, not my jam. That's like 95% of building a community is logistics and details.
Not my thing.
But yeah, it's not my thing. But what I love is this. Like, I love podcasting. I love content. I love conversation. Like, that is really what lights me up. And I love hearing the fruit of others connecting. I don't necessarily love being the, like, this, like, matriarch of community, to be honest. Like, I like facilitating it. I don't necessarily love being, like, the go-to. So what I'm learning and trying to do right now is like, okay, how do I go deep in one community while like, you know, offloading the things that I don't love about it so that there is sustainability. Like, my goal isn't scale. It's like, how do I sustain?
Yeah. And
that's really hard for me because I'm like, ooh, I want the shiny object. I want the thousands of members. But it's like the cost of that is actually like really bad for me.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm trying to like do more of what I love, which is like this.
Yeah.
And in order to have space for that, I have to like build sustainably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and you mentioned off air before we began, like, you're sort of on the precipice of a transition, right? You're getting married in a couple of months, and just navigating what that might look like in terms of your capacity and how much of yourself you want to be putting into your business versus your marriage or this new identity. So can you say a bit more about that?
Yeah, totally. I just had therapy the other day. We were just talking to my therapist about it, and I was like, like, how do I do this? Thank God for good therapists, for real. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's amazing. And you know, the thing that she shared with me was like, I have permission to feel joy, and success doesn't have to equal suffering. And that like blew my mind, because I'm like so used to just like grinding to the point of like, I have totally fallen off the edge and don't even realize it until I'm like, literally my entire body is like bruised and aching and I can't walk anymore. Like, I don't know. It's just a rhythm that I've been in my entire life. And so to really take a pause, especially in this season, like right now, I'm really just like focused on women in biz at probably like 50% capacity. I'm focused on building a home and like making it a nurturing, comfortable space. I'm focused on like ensuring I have nourishing meals and like ensuring I'm moving my body and ensuring I'm connecting with my fiance.
Yeah.
That's really weird to me. Like, for real, I'm like, normally I would be like, let's just like run at 1,000,000 miles per hour and produce. And it's like uncomfortable, but it's a good thing. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm never going to get this season back. And for the first time probably ever in my life, like especially as like a performer growing up, like I am actually putting something else outside of my output first. And that feels very different, but it feels really good.
Yeah, and isn't it kind of the point, right? Like,
yeah,
isn't that why we're entrepreneurs? So that we can get to a place where we can actually be present. You know, I relate so much to what you're talking about, Hannah, because like I don't know if I mentioned yet on the podcast, but like I'm 5 months pregnant or just about 5 months pregnant. And as a result, I'm like still taking like a couple new clients, but not really. And I'm not like really, you know, I just kind of like wrapped up my podcast for this season and we'll see if we get back to it after the baby. Like who knows what's going to happen after the baby. And that's what I keep saying, because as I mentioned, I'm very like intuitive and I don't know if after that I'll be like, well, maybe I really want to focus on like IVF pregnancies, you know, who knows, like, or something else completely different, postpartum. And so it's this space that I'm experiencing right now that like, I have the opportunity to like really relish in and have it be so nourishing and delicious. And I find moments of being like, oh, like I feel this shame or I feel this guilt about not being productive enough and not making as much money this month as I was, you know, a couple months ago or whatever. And I think, you know, you've said it so beautifully, right? Like I'm focusing on like nourishing meals and time with my fiance and building a home and, you know, moving my body. And like, that's like, speaking of deserving, like we deserve joy. Like we deserve to not always be killing ourselves trying to build something to prove ourselves, right? Like it is okay to, I was speaking with a couple of girlfriends the other day because, you know, I feel like you probably both feel the same way, like surrounded by these like incredibly successful women who have these like 7-8 figure businesses, but like seems like at least they're killing themselves doing it, killing themselves. And I mean, Molly, I'm sure you see this too with just because I think of some of them who have like massive social media profiles and they're just, everything is filmed and everything is constantly like having to think about what they're going to put online next. And I was like, gosh, like that seems really hard and like not something that I would want. And I don't think it is true that that is what success has to look like or the kind of success that is a 7-8 figure business. But I think there is this trade-off, like you said, where it's like, you know what, like I'm okay with not scaling past a certain point because I get to maintain my sense of self and my overhead is still quite low. And so when I have this baby, I can dial back and know that like I'm not burning a ton of money, you know, while I'm just waiting to get back after like 6 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is in the States. Here in Canada, we take like a year and a half. Yeah. And so I think it's just so hopefully validating for women listening. Like you don't have to build like the biggest business possible just because like you can doesn't mean you have to, right? Like you can find that balance of what you want your life to look like, and it can be having moments of presence and going to the class and, you know, having the coffee in the morning with your fiance and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's so true. I don't know about you guys, but I come from like a very missional family. Like both of my parents, my grandparents, like my aunts, my uncles, they're all extremely service oriented, very missional. All of them like fall on the sword for something greater than themselves, whether it's in ministry or it's in, you know, their specific fields. They've all done really incredible things, and they leave a legacy. And I think like I've been programmed to be like, oh, like okay, let me leave legacy, which is so admirable. But I don't know if there's any like legacy leaver who hasn't sacrifice something that was probably beyond their limits. Yes. And normally there's a cost that you do have to weigh. Like, you know, Jesse Jackson just passed, incredible civil rights leader. I was watching his story and he's amazing. I mean, he's amazing. He altered the course of history. Like it's just incredible. And I was in Chicago, he's a Chicago guy. So big moment in history. And he, you know, he changed the world for the better. If obviously talk about missional, like really, I have no words to describe it. And it's Black History Month. Like I'm like, man, like this is wild. Like to really honor a life. And in his memory, they also shared like he had moral failure, and it's like, of course he did. like, how do you do something that big without it costing something
Totally.
else? And I feel very confronted by that. Like, I think I was listening to that, to his story, and I look at all these other leaders that do really admirable things. I'm like, okay, how do I take that impact? And maybe it's not going to be a Jesse Jackson level. It may not be the level of my mom or my dad or my grandfather, like, or my uncle. Like, it might not be at that scale, but maybe I can impact, 20 women
Totally.
that are members of Women in Biz.
Yeah.
And maybe that's okay.
I mean, what you're describing, Hannah, is like, at least what comes up for me is like this idea of like meaning and purpose and our relationship to meaning and purpose. And it is so important for us as humans to have meaning and purpose. Like, if we don't have that, we get like existential depression. But there's also like, if we go from meaning and purpose, like no meaning and purpose is not good. Some meaning and purpose, great, need that. Too much can also just be a form of us trying to prove ourselves and trying to seek validation and believing we're not enough and sacrificing, like you said, over and over and over again, thinking when I get to this spot, it's actually no different than like when I exit my company for $100 million, when I change the world, right? Which I'm guilty of as a younger therapist, being like, I'm gonna like write and change the world. And hopefully, yes, I've impacted people in my career because that is meaningful and purposeful. But this sort of like, this sort of belief, like I need to be the one who rescues everyone, or I need to be the one who fixes everything. It's a pretty intense cross to bear, right? And so being able to know your relationship to like your mission, I think is really important, of how is it actually serving me, and how is this giving me that sense of meaning and connection and purpose and all of those sorts of things, healthy validation, and where is it that I'm like seeking this impossible quest to prove myself, because actually the work that I need to do is in here around like validation, worthiness, and presence, and perhaps confronting my mortality, which a lot of people are afraid of, and that's why they are on this journey of legacy.
Yeah, no, it's so fair. I mean, especially as therapists, I mean, y'all are like in the weeds of like
Totally.
Really hard things, life-changing things. I can see why it would feel that way. But similarly, I'm sure you've found in clients that you've worked with, like, in clients you work with, like somehow you become a therapist, a really underqualified one. But yeah, and you just like hear these big things, but it's true. It's like, oh man, yeah, what does legacy look like? But what does legacy look like at a pace that honors me, and I don't have to save
where I don't
the
get
world.
left behind in all of it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Totally.
Well, before we wrap, Molly, do you have any other questions you want to?
I think one thing that, we touched on a little bit is the grind and, not knowing when to stop. But you said you've, kind of taken that time to take a year off or to really slow down. What advice or realistic, tangible things can someone do who's stuck in the grind? Like, even for myself, I feel like I struggle with slowing down or even finding the time to, like, find something to eat or ever work out. Like, what's a realistic thing you've done that, something that you can, actually make a change?
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say that I've like done it well because I've actually like fought it the entire time. Like, I wasn't like, I'm intentionally taking a year off. It was like, oh, I am exhausted. I have hit a wall.
Yeah.
I am unwell. I'm moving. I'm getting engaged. Like, it wasn't like this peaceful, like, like,
I'm gonna take a year off, then go back.
No, girl. I was like fighting, and I fought it the whole time. I was like trying to figure out like how to keep Women in Biz going the entire time that I like took that year. I think in retro, I would say like I wish I wouldn't have fought it.
Yeah.
Like, I think I had a lot of fear in setting Women in Biz down.
Yeah.
I identified a lot with it in terms of like putting my identity in this like really cool thing that was being built. And to your point, it feels very purpose aligned for me. Like, it really feels like what I was created to do. And when you're doing something that feels like it's what you're created to do, it's really hard to like separate it from every other aspect of your life. And so I think one thing I would encourage people in is like, and something that I am learning as I go, is like, it's okay to pause and like it's okay to pick things back up, like and that feels threatening. Like, for me, that felt very, very threatening. But having this like non-linear journey, like, I thought I failed by going back to a 9-to-5. I really struggled with it. I was like, I have failed. I'm not an entrepreneur anymore. Women in Biz is dying. This amazing thing that just got built that's so purpose aligned and had all this impact is like now gone. And that wasn't true.
Yeah.
But it wasn't true. And I didn't know that at the time. And a lot of that just has to do with like how integrated it had been into like all these other areas of my life. And so I think one is identifying like what would an ideal like healthy place look like for me and my business? And is the business like, where is it right now? Is it like right here close to the chest? Is it safe to put it a little bit further out? Is it safe to put it like maybe even out there for like 3 months? Like, is it safe to do that? And identifying like what that actually looks like for it to be movable and ebb and flow. Are you tired? Like, are you feeling burnt out?
Yeah, I think that's something I always struggle with, and everyone I feel like that's an entrepreneur my age struggles with. I think, everyone I talk to, it feels like it's hard to know when to stop, especially coming from cities. I feel like that's what everyone's doing. Here, people, not as much.
Yes.
But, everyone I talk to is living that same way. So it feels like if you do stop, you're giving something up or you're falling behind.
Yeah. It's, I relate to that so much. And I think like, diversifying income can be really helpful. Like I needed to get the 9 to 5 so that I could take the pressure off of women in biz. And it's interesting how things work out because it's like, ultimately I learned a lot from that.
Yeah.
Like I learned a lot in the space that I was in that now benefits women in biz. And so, whatever that is for you or for whoever is listening, the pause can be uncomfortable, but sometimes it's necessary, and somehow, some way, in whatever you believe in, God, universe, ties everything together. I don't know how, but it's like kind of majestic and cool, and like to see it on the other side is exciting. And and it's okay to pause.
Yeah,
it's
that's
hard
good.
though.
That's good.
Yeah.
So well said. So well said. Anna, before we wrap, is there anything else you want to add? Any final words of wisdom or advice?
No advice, just an invitation maybe. Like I would love, I really believe in women in biz and what the organization does. And there's some really incredible women local to Nashville that are members, and we meet bi-weekly in biz circles. I'd love to invite whoever's listening to come be part of it if they're craving community or just a space to bounce ideas off of.
Where can people find you or find Women in Biz?
Yeah, you can find Women in Biz at WMNINBIZ, womeninbiz.com, or on Instagram and TikTok, same thing, Women in Biz.
Incredible. And from what I saw, it seems like a very affordable community, which is not always the case for communities or women's communities.
Yes.
So definitely highly accessible for whatever stage you're at in the journey.
Yeah, it's only $29 a month. I that was incredibly intentional because we are not selling a mastermind. We are truly here to facilitate community. And the goal was to make it super approachable for everybody to be part of.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much for all of your sharing and wisdom today, Hannah. Loved our conversation.
Thanks for having me. It was so fun to get to know you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.